Hello, and welcome to the Dubai Startup Ecosystem Chats, powered by Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy. I'm your host, Erica Welch, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you today Abdullah Al-Ghaz, who's the co-founder of an AI and IoT startup that was started right here in Dubai. Abdullah, it's lovely to have you.
It's my pleasure.
Beautiful. First of all, how about telling our audience what DubDev is?
All right, so DubDev is a research and development company that was homegrown and home built here in the UAE. And our aspirations is to pioneer in this industry and hopefully scale along with Dubai's pace and its ecosystem space. And hopefully that we can be amongst one of the leaders globally and regionally in this field.
So when I hear AI and IoT, and I've also heard you describe it as an R&D lab, I'm picturing data scientists, a bunch of techies in there,
right.
building
Lots of,
software.
Glasses.
Yeah, lots of nerdy glasses in there.
Yeah.
Software, hardware. I understand you're building both software and hardware applications. So Abdullah, tell me a little bit about how you and your brother came up with the idea for DubDev.
I can speak for myself in this one. I think I'm a very curious person. I like asking questions, but what I do like more is having reliable sources, right? Answering my questions with reliable answers, something that I can at least move forward with. I'm a person that doesn't like to be embarrassed in public talks, so I also like to use, in this case, very reliable sources to address
verifiable sources.
Reliable sources.
Yeah.
So, study-backed sources, data-driven sources, statistics, quantifiable sources to talk about. I would say I'm more of a numbers guy. So I take pride in talking about numbers. So I also like to be confident in that field. Yeah.
And I understand that because you guys are in the AI field, obviously a big topic of conversation amongst everyone is the reliability of data being fed and regurgitated from generative AI, like with ChatGPT or one of the many LLMs that we're all using these days. What was that conversation? How has that conversation sort of fed into some of the products that you guys are building at DubDev?
Well, I'd like to address this conversation by saying that sure, I can agree with you that not all AI is reliable, but that's why you have human intervention, right? And that's where we step in, we tweak the numbers if we deem necessary, and that's where our also very qualified and skilled team, right? As you mentioned, we have a lot of techies, a lot of scientists, and people that have experience in that field and have worked in previous, fields where these skills are being used, right? They're very proficient in this, in this field, and they step in and they make the adjustments they deem necessary, and that's how we try to minimize the marginal error we have in our products. But then again, it's not to say that our products are perfect, but we'd like to lean in towards as perfect as possible.
It's fascinating because it's a chicken or an egg problem. A lot of people are looking to technology to solve for human error. And you're saying, well, AI, is also built by humans, so we'll have that error sort of baked in. But if you have the right team with you, then you can bake it back out. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, yes. And practically speaking, yes. The product isn't perfect, but at least combined, we can get closer and closer every day.
I understand you guys also have your own AI, and you were talking about building your own hardware for that as well. Talk to me a little bit about that and why it was so important for you guys to build that in-house at DubDev.
That's a very good question. I think it's primarily to leverage malleability and to be able to tailor make those products to meet the needs of public sectors, government sectors, or even our end clients, generally speaking. And because we don't have any third-party intervention in terms of where we acquire our, let's say, supplies or let's say data or programming or even the IT, relevant IT information behind it, that we can have it homegrown, that way we can leverage that custom feel to it, custom niche to it, that we can make it to suit the needs of our clients.
That makes sense. And you speak about this team that you have that's really fundamental to the success of DubDev. How long ago was DubDev formed?
Over a year ago.
You've managed to recruit many of these guys to your team. Tell me a little bit about that journey of making sure you could find the right talent here in Dubai, and how easy or how hard has that been?
It was surely not easy. Not easy in the least bit, right? I mean, we're talking about qualified people. We're talking about people that have been in the field, working with programs, working with coding, working with IT for a very long time. And we're looking for proficient people in that field. So our hiring process was not in a closed area in a meeting room and we just talk and then we evaluate whether this person is qualified or not. We had to take him through, let's say, in this case, the trials and tribulations, right? We have to take him through the motions of our company and see if that person fits this environment. Is he adaptable enough? Is he quick enough? Is he proficient enough? And that's what's most important to us. And success is on the ground, not so much so in the meeting room.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I'm curious, how much of your team is locally sourced from Dubai, people that were already living here, and how many did you bring in from abroad?
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure, but I would say around 70% of them are locally and 30% were talents from abroad.
Okay. And was it easy to convince the people who came from outside to move to
absolutely.
Dubai? Yeah,
absolutely.
Tell me more.
Everyone would love to come to Dubai.
I've been hearing that more and more. Because, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't always the easiest sell. People were like, if they were adventurous and curious and wanted to live the expat life, they'd be like, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. And nowadays, I'm hearing from all sorts of founders that they're getting emails from around the world saying, please hire me. What's the case with you guys?
I mean, I would say our case isn't much different, right? I mean, we do have people reaching out. I see your company. I think I'd be of good use to you. And obviously, if the person is talented enough, or the person has that level of expertise in the field, then why not?
You're competing with all of the AI giants in Silicon Valley, maybe out of Boston, Singapore,
right,
China.
Absolutely.
What makes Dubai a different place for them that makes them go, actually, I want to build an AI powerhouse out of Dubai versus San Francisco?
Sure. I mean, there's no denying it. Dubai is the leading global AI hub, right? We have a ministry of AI. I mean, there's hardly any countries that have that. Well, that's one, right? And what sets it aside is it's the ecosystem. We move fast, we develop quick, we adapt much faster. We move at a very rapid pace. I mean, Dubai was built over a little over 40 years, right? And we have, X amount of expats, X amount of people coming here to live here forever. We want to match that pace. We want to exceed it, if anything. And we want to have the capacity to govern it as well.
I like that. Tell me a little bit more about these 3 products that you guys have commercialized at DubDev. They're from sort of various backgrounds, it seems.
Right.
So let's walk through them.
Sure. I just want to talk about the pre-context of our products, right? Not everything started off the get-go. Some of the products were developed because of a relevant government sector's necessities for preserving wildlife sanctuaries. And then we just met that need. We developed Mingar and we developed Dibba.
So talk a little bit about Bengal and Dibba. What are they?
Yeah, Mingar and Dibba. So Mingar is our AI hardware device that feeds the birds, and it studies basically the pattern of how much birds gather at what time. And it calculates that number and it sends us a message telling us that we need X amount of food at X amount of hours, and we need this much food for the entire day to meet the needs of the wildlife. Same goes with Dibba. It's a very similar concept. One is for birds and one is for animals. In this case, deers, predominantly. Ahlan was developed as a it's a very selfish development, but for us, we're a very e-commerce. We're very into e-commerce. Let's put it this way.
As Dubai consumers, you
as
mean?
Dubai consumers,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I use Amazon a lot. I use Talabat a lot. I use all of these websites a lot. I hardly go to malls anymore. But in most cases, no one's around at home to receive my orders when I'm not inside. And I thought to myself, maybe if we had a mailbox, that we would have an easier solution. But then we kind of took that idea and we had a spin-off. What if we can access that mailbox over a phone? What if we can have multiple lockers? What if we can cater that application to meet the needs of these big e-commerce brands, or let's say in this case, let's say Noon, Talabat, to give them a user interface that they can also access, and we can work around similar like an OTP, one-time password, for them to access and have a seamless delivery process. And we actually categorized Ahlan Box as a last meter solution. So you've ever heard of the first mile, middle mile, last mile?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we're the last meter. Yeah, it's just before you just take your product or take your deliverables, right? So we developed that as the last meter solution, and I think it was a solution that met the needs of many people around the UAE, primarily because, again, we're very active. We head outside. We're barely at home, right? So no one's there to receive it in our absence. So we developed an AI box. In this case, it's a hardware with an AI chip to act as our receiver in our absence.
That's why it's called Ahlan.
Exactly.
Welcome. I love that. And I was telling you the story earlier that I just came back from the UK, spending some summer months there. And I had several Amazon packages stolen from my doorstep. And I remember thinking, because I've been in Dubai for over 15 years, like, I never even thought that was possible. And everyone was like, oh yeah, that happens all the time. You have to stay at home when you're getting a delivery. And thank God here in Dubai and in the UAE, we have such a safe, environment that's not one of the use cases. Who knows in the future? But I could see this having global applications.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit more about this, like wildlife project. So you've got two of them, wildlife feeding. Tell me about the government agencies that have been supportive of you. It seems a little bit out of left field, but also a really noble cause to say, hey, we want to understand maybe even migratory patterns of different wildlife. And I know the UAE is adamant on protecting our wildlife here.
Absolutely.
All of those internationally tuning in that don't think we have wildlife, we have a lot. Yeah, I'm super curious about the process of how that started, how your relationship with these government departments have been, and have they been positive in terms of adopting new technologies?
Dubai as a government as a whole, we're talking about, different branches of government, they're very supportive of any initiative stemming from, the national grounds, right? They're very supportive of any initiative, any projects, any developments. They're very supportive, and they are always on board to push it forward, to support it, and to develop it. In our case, we have a few, let's say, friends working in those relevant fields, and we were just introducing the idea to them, and they fell in love with it. They said, "Oh, you know what? I think the Sheikh would love this. I think the Sheikh would love to have an automated machine, in this case, machine that would feed and preserve the wildlife in our country." And so what we did was we made the product. We looked at what we can do to improve it even further, and then we pushed it forward. And Dubai has been extremely, extremely, extremely supportive in our initiative and in our development. And it almost feels like we're giving back to the country. As much, aside from the profitability and everything, aside from, the general commerce, this feels like a very noble cause, as you said. It feels like we're giving back to what we owe. Dubai is looking into people with a proficient background in environmental sustainability and longevity and initiatives like this. So Dubai has been extremely supportive of, or at least in this case, the UAE has been very supportive of a very noble cause like this.
In terms of Menger and Deba, they seem to be very niche products for research and development in the wildlife sector. I'm curious, some founders who have really niche products, they're like, oh, it's so hard for us. it's a small consumer base and we've got to crack it. And then in terms of investors, they're like, oh, it's maybe too small of a segment. And then other founders say, hey, it's super niche, but it meant we're hyper focused and we got to really focus on the few customers that we have and deliver well. Where do you sit on that spectrum?
So it is super niche and it has a very small customer segment. But in a way, we kind of wanted to initiate it just because we wanted to also support our government in preserving the wildlife sanctuaries here. So it started off as that initiative. I don't want to sit here and say it wasn't, let's say, a commercial opportunity, because realistically, it's not a very big customer segment. Not a lot of people are going to tap into this product. But in a way, it's also like, harboring or preserving the core values of the UAE in a way, right? So we kind of wanted to push that forward for our government to give back to it and earn their trust. And that's also one of our slogans, you can say. It's to win trust and then focus on your tenders.
Tell me a little bit more about, with some of your AI applications, and I'm sure future ones, especially because you're doing both hardware and software, there's some layers of security questions that are involved around deploying sensors, cameras, autonomous devices in public spaces. What has your experience been in sort of navigating the local regulatory environment around all of that?
It's obviously it's a very touchy subject, and it's something that we have to be super keen about. Right? We have to be super cautious and vigilant about when it comes to approaching these things. I mean, obviously, one of our core values is privacy. Right? We don't want to be intruding into people's businesses. So in a way, we govern that. We govern that privacy by making sure all the data is secured safely. That's one. Two, that it's backed up by authorities. And three, that whenever needed, we can access that data by with government oversight. So it becomes accessible that way only.
This next question might be a bit difficult, but where might you predict AI and the IoT sphere, that space, will be in 2 to 3 years, particularly here in the region?
There is no denying that AI will consume jobs at some point, right? It's developing at a very rapid pace. But I do believe that the GCC, and especially the UAE in this case, is well within its capacity to govern that growth and keep it from viciously attacking our already made jobs and attack our, let's say, in this case, well-being and safety and security. So I do see it growing, but not in a way to harm us.
You think we can control that to some degree?
I think our government is well within its capacity to govern this growth.
And are local young Emiratis like you and your friends, are you educated and ready for an AI future?
I mean, in professional environments, we can already see it taking 70% of people's jobs. Right? I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because it makes you feel like you can use an AI program to do your job, but at the same time, you kind of stagnate because you're not doing the job yourself. So you can grow with it, you can't keep it on a leash, but you have to be wary of it keeping you on a leash.
That's a fair statement. Looking back, what advice would you give to any founder? Maybe there's a founder out there listening right now that's like, I'm moving to Dubai and starting an AI startup because they have a minister of AI and they are really backing AI founders. What advice do you have for them?
I would say to focus on building real tech, focus on adapting quick, focus on piloting your products to meet the needs of the clients, and focus on storing your data securely. Make sure there's no data breach. Make sure that privacy remains your top priority and security as well. And lastly, I would like to say, make AI your friend.
Make AI your friend. With that, I think we can close this, Abdullah. Thank you so much for your
having
time.
me.
Yeah, thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, continue listening or watching to future episodes where we speak to many of Dubai's startup founders, investors, and digital economy and startup ecosystem enablers. Also, the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy has published an annual startup guide to help answer any questions you may have on how to register and start a company in Dubai. Download the guide now at the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy website.